Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Oshawa Curling Club and this year's Canadian Junior Cup.
9-7.
My name is Matthew Hall. I'll be bringing you
just
all
a
the action
9-5.
from these first 2 days of play as 8 men's and 12 women's teams play down for the chance to win a trip to Bern, Switzerland to represent Canada at the Swiss Cup in February. We have a highly international field here this week as teams from Switzerland and the U.S. have joined us, but this morning we have an all-Ontario matchup between Team Grace Cave representing the Hyde Park Curling Club in Toronto, Ontario, and Team Bella Croisier representing the Northern Credit Union Community Centre from Sudbury. Here in the first end, the teams have mostly just decided to trade some hits, get used to the ice before going at it
What weight
a bit
was
later.
that? 9-5? Okay.
As you see here, there was a draw to the button to determine the hammer, and it was Grace Cave and Bella Croisier facing off for that. Grace coming up just short of the rings on hers, and Bella wanting to leave nothing to chance, drawing the back of the button, so they will start with hammer and the red stones here in the first end.
9-5.
Team Croisier backed up by Vice Piper Croisier, second Dominique Vivier. The lead is Celeste Gauthier and their skip, Sean Ledemaki.
Whoa, I'm out.
It's Grace Cave from Hyde Park. The vice is Julie Markle. The second, Emily Madaw, and their lead is Sadie McCutcheon with their coach, Jody McCutcheon.
Sorry, guys. Good sweep.
Julie Markle rolling out on that rock, so it's going to give Team Croisier a free draw here. Try to put something to the side of the rings.
Oh, okay.
Keep an eye on that moving forward. Doesn't seem like it matters that much rolling out on shots like that when it's just an open hit, but giving teams early chances to have these free draws can really pay dividends, especially later in the game if they need to make it.
Queen, T-line. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she is top 8 for 16.
Just T. I think it's okay on its own.
Okay. Yeah.
4-7.
Yeah, just hit
Stop.
it.
Good throw.
Go on, just edge her up.
Yeah. Good throw. Yeah, it was pretty good.
On my second one, was he going to hit the rock or was he going to right by it?
No, you would have had half a rock, I would say. Okay. Can you fix my collar? No, Dom did something, I don't know. She like folded it.
Oh god, it's stuck. There you go, that should be better.
Thank you. Yeah, that feels better.
And we'll get our first look at the skip from Hyde Park. Grace Cave here. She attempts to hit this stone on the side of the rings.
Whoa! Queen!
Speaking to the teams for the game, this is their first year curling together.
Hard piece!
Have had a
Hard piece!
very successful year so far for junior teams,
Nice
coming
shot.
second in the
Other side? Yeah, sure, we can try the other side.
probably one of the bigger events of the season. The Super
try.
Spiel, always held in Ottawa.
Yeah, just
Third
mine
at the
too.
Stu Cells Junior event. Grace herself has been curling for 16
That's fine.
years
9-2.
up to this point.
So I think this was the extra way to just win.
Alrighty, just T-line.
Does roll out on that stone. So again, going to give the free opportunity to Bella Croisier here to get a feel for draw weight early in this game.
Yeah,
With
you're
that idea
okay.
to get a look at this to the wings as well. You've spent most of your, all of your pregame practice drawing to the center. It was nice to have these free opportunities to really get a feel for how the sheet is looking all the way across.
Line's good.
Probably
Switch.
just the same thing.
Looks hot.
Here.
Dom only.
Chance to draw to the other side. The speakers are saying
Yeah,
maybe a
just let
little
it come
bit
down.
heavy, which isn't a bad thing. You
Yeah,
don't
we're
leave the
still
guard
only
and give
14.
Grace the opportunity to try and draw around it and force you.
Slide
So
there.
slipping back to the rings, however,
Okay, I think just back side.
Okay.
and all the way through. So opportunity handed right back. Now Grace is going to get the chance to have a really nice chance to figure out her draw weight. Watching their pregame, practice their pregame draw for hammer. Grace came up well short of the rings. almost every time. So good opportunity here to
I
get
said
that
I would
draw
only
weight
give 2
underneath
feet more,
it.
but I slid out with a lot more than
I was
that.
gonna say,
So.
it doesn't matter. I think 2 feet would have been close. Like even if foot would have been.
Yeah. True. Okay, well, blank is still really good here.
All you. Line's good. Line's good.
She should be like easy.
Yep. Just give a look. Just top 4. Okay. Weight looks really good.
5'9".
Yep. Make a top 4.
Like a 9 or a field.
I think I like.
Nice shot, Grace. That was 15-8.
Although a
That's a really
few
good
curled
draw
in
there,
the
so that'll
squats,
definitely
just
instill some
watching.
confidence going right into the game.
You got it.
It's all
shot.
up to Bella
15-8.
to make this
That was
blank
sweet,
attempt to
Vic.
hold on to the hammer moving forward. Bella and her sister Piper, plenty of experience for
Yeah, so like 16
the
or
junior team representing
I don't think we need to
Northern
overthrow it.
Ontario
Just 9.
and Ontario at Canada
a few were
Games
curling
and a
in
number
this
of
pack.
U18s.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I don't want to take much.
Celeste, one U18 experience and a
There we
Ontario
go.
Winter Games
I
experience
agree.
herself, so plenty of experience here with
Just
this
9.
squad.
Yep. Yep. Hard. Hard. Hard.
Sweep on it.
Hard all the way. Hard. 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 Roll it. Roll it.
Seems the yellow, but isn't able to roll out of play. They will stick around, so it is a single point for Team Croisier.
Just a little tight.
Team
sorry.
Cave will try to come back with the hammer in the second end.
Good end. Good end. I think so.
If they go in,
What?
hitting it, or do you want to put up the corner?
No, she's so tight. I think it's like for delayed forward.
Yeah.
I think it's just like straight over.
Yeah, and like even the ones here or curling, it's fun. Like you're really
Anyone can be scared to try something new.
But moving outside of your comfort zone
can open new possibilities.
and having the courage to change something,
Doesn't change who you are.
So why try something new?
to innovate, to create a legacy.
To make an impact.
You have to earn it.
And you better be ready to enjoy it.
Because you never know who else you might make an impact on.
What impact will you make?
Goldline, the choice of champions.
I think you're good. Whoa. Whoa, it looks back.
And welcome back as we pick up play here in the second
5-2.
end. We saw the Croisier team nosing that
Don't worry about
blank
it.
attempt last
I don't
end,
mind
so
the corner for
forced to
that.
give
Yeah,
up
it's
the
very
hammer
fast.
and possibly the advantage
Do you like
back
the
to
corner?
Team
Yeah.
Cave early in this game.
I still like throwing a 3 here. Trying to
Yeah.
force them. I like keeping your legs down.
Bit of a
Yeah, you're
surprise
probably
for
gonna
Like-
be 18.
them to nose
Yeah.
that. Of course, that's a safe way to
do it.
play it. You never want to point, get a give
Yeah,
up the
definitely
steal.
10s.
Yeah.
10-5s maybe.
Early in the
Yeah.
week too. It won't be surprising to see not necessarily some jitters, but maybe the teams be a bit uncomfortable with what the ice is doing until they get the opportunity to play a couple games. Here's an all-women's draw here this morning. They will alternate between the women's and the men's for the first couple of days until we reach the playoffs.
Yep. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It's really moving. Nice shot, Sadie. Really good.
I still like 3.
Yeah, that was 18-7.
Yeah, like
Corner
really,
guard by
really
Sadie
give it to you guys.
McCutcheon. That first
Yeah,
stone
that was
by Bella
terrible.
going to the back of the ring,
Yeah,
not
like super give
in
it to
an
you
ideal
guys.
spot. For Team Cave, you're not really worried about that rock. You should always be able to draw it or even play down to it if you need to. So
Oh, yeah.
Bella now going to switch it up, take up the opportunity to throw up a center guard. Don't want this rock to reach the center line. Want to keep it on that side of the yellow stone. Ideally, if it was going to be a center guard, and this will slip in deep. But if it was going to be a center guard, you wanted to preferably choke off that corner guard as well. This one again slipping to the back of the forefoot, so not an ideal setup from
Just a 10.
Team Croisier. Team Grace definitely has no obligation to hit these stones. You could just ignore them and draw around the corner guard, but as I said before, maybe early in the week you want to play things a little bit safer, be a bit more careful until you really know what the ice is going to be doing. So calling for the hit and roll behind the corner instead. This one quite wide though. I think it comes up to stick around, will make contact,
Okay.
and just roll out of the rings. And
11-1, just outside.
those are the kind of errors that you want to avoid, especially just sort of those unforced hit and roll outs. Even if you don't stick around for a shot, if you stick around in the rings, you almost force Bella to make a play on it with a not an ideal setup. If you stick around side 12 and Bella has to hit it, then you have the opportunity to go around your corner guard. Unfortunately, rolling out there now gives Bella the free opportunity to try and make what they were trying to earlier, get that center guard up, try to cause some problems for Team Cave. As we move on today, I'll try to keep you updated on all the other matchups. There's a full slate, all 8 sheets being used this morning on the women's side. That rock being heavy again, able to get a decent plan B out of it, taking that corner guard a little bit further out to the side and rolling in. Definitely, it seems in the first couple ends here, the misses have been heavy, so maybe the ice is a bit quicker than expected. Second Emily Madaw here, trying to make this hit and roll to the center. Of course, the name will be familiar to most curling fans, daughter of the legendary Sherry and Wayne Madaw.
I know, but yours seem the same way.
I believe may be making an appearance here this week, may still be back home for the holidays at the moment.
They look the same as Sadie's.
This Croisier team has been playing a fair bit on the tour. Played, I believe, 3 events up to this point. Mixed results, not qualifying in their first 2 events at the KW Fall Classic and the North Grenville Women's Fall Curling Classic. Cumulative record of 3 and 6 at those events, but coming off a bit of a stronger showing at the end of November in Listowel. Finishing their round robin with a 2-1 record, qualified. Beat Haley Armstrong in the quarterfinals before losing to Chelsea Bramwood in the semis. So that might be a little bit of momentum for them. Especially, they did tell me this is their first year curling together. Of course, the 2 sisters have been curling together for a number of years, 12 years, they told me. But it always takes a little bit of time to be comfortable with a new team. Looks like we might be headed towards another blank, unless we get a mistake maybe by the Croisier team. If they were to roll out, it would give Team Cave the opportunity to have a draw behind that corner guard. So you need to be careful here to stick around.
All the way. Good throw.
As that hits it right on the nose. And I believe we'll just keep seeing them attempt to nose hit this stone. I don't think, just judging by how they've been calling this end so far, it doesn't seem like Grace will be willing to take the risk to go around that corner guard unless it's a free opportunity. The stone again needing to curl up a little bit. There it goes. This out turn side coming home, running a little bit straighter than the in turn, it seems. Team's getting caught early on that. Team Cave rolling out earlier this end. Seem to have figured it out here, though.
My line was a little funky. Same line.
I believe I have some correcting to do looking at this. Looks like Piper is the vice, so she does hold the broom for Bella on her throws, but I believe she's actually the lead. And Celeste Gauthier, who I said was the lead, is actually the third rock thrower, so a bit of a mix up there on my program. Apologies. Talking to them before the game, they did ask me to say hi to all their family and friends watching back home in Sudbury. Bella here looking to repeat what she was able to do last end. Just make some nose hits and force Team Cave to play for the blank. Bit of an early sweep here. This one might be moving. Looking to just nose this rock. You get a bit of a roll in towards the center line, but nothing too concerning, I don't believe.
This is actually driving me nuts. Can you fix it? It's not like in a good spot. I'm not doing anything to it. It's just going there. Can you put it on the outside?
Whoa, just clean. Close. No. Yep. No. Sadie. Yep. Okay, just clean your nosing. That's fine. Good shot, Grace. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Nice shot. 10-3. That's really good. Sorry, it looks like it was gonna curl. I was like, okay. But it doesn't actually curl.
After
It
a
just
couple nose
looks like
hits,
it.
looks like we are heading towards a blank end
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
Stick nose would be good.
Bella not necessarily needing to stick around. There's no opportunity for a split or anything for Grace for two, so I would like to maybe force the opportunity to roll to a new spot. This hit's been pretty much going down the same spot of this sheet, so the teams will have a good idea of what it's doing. You'd like to roll somewhere new, maybe put a question mark into Grace's mind on this last rock. She does just nose it, however, so they should have a good idea of exactly how this rock is going to react coming down the ice.
9-6.
As Julie Markle puts the broom down. Grace Cave now in the hack, looking for a blank end here at the second end. Not too much action through these first two ends of play. These teams playing fairly conservative, not wanting to push the envelope early in this week until they know what's going on. Early sweep on this, needing to hold it. Looks pretty close. Will get the hit and a bit of a roll, but not enough. So a second missed opportunity to blank an end here early in this game results in a nose hit and a score of 1 for Team Grace Cave. It'll be a tie game and advantage back to Team Croisier. 1-1 when we return.
Doesn't matter if you're just learning how to play
or competing at the top level of the game.
We'll go for fun.
And Gold Line gear?
This is for everyone.
These shoes are more comfortable than ever.
These are stable.
These make me slide straight.
These make me slide fast.
The new impact head maximizes performance.
And can we talk about grip zone technology?
Because it's on the brooms and the gloves.
Beginner or pro, they got something for you.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line. It's a Gold Line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Welcome back. Third end of play here at the first draw of the Canadian Junior Cup here in Oshawa, Ontario. A couple of missed opportunities here by both teams. I don't think that much about it. Those sort of unforced errors really lead to some big opportunities for the other team if you continue. We've seen a couple hit and roll outs on open hits, a couple nosed blank attempts, and here Team Cave slipping into the rings again, so maybe still not having a good feel for what the speed of the ice is. Bella wasting no time, doesn't really want to put the pressure on, taking the opportunity to hit this rock. Piper will roll out though, so we'll see if Grace tries to take the opportunity here to get a center guard up and maybe put some rocks in play here in the third end. Of course, it is early in the week. You want to make sure you're comfortable with the ice before you really try and push it, but you can't wait forever. Make no mistake, the advantage is definitely in Bella Croisier's hands here. Just 6 ends to play and the hammer in a tie game. You have to push the envelope at some point. She's going to ask Sadie McCutcheon here to toss up center guard. Sweeper's liking this one a lot better, just trying to get it to curl.
Really nice. I was so worried
That's
that
good
was
center
going to go
guard
in.
there, so trying to force the opportunity. Bella having more or less no part of it, just deciding to draw to the open side.
Perfect. I'll give it to you.
Definitely see this call a lot more at the younger levels, this draw to the open side.
Easy.
As you get older and the teams become more experienced and a bit stronger, teams will generally ignore that rock if they want to play and try to sink one around the center guard and force the play there. This one, again, just a little bit heavy though, and gonna slip right through, so a free opportunity here for Emily Madoc, to make this draw around the center guard. If she can make this good, it'd be interesting to see what Bella does. Of course, probably if she goes top 4 here, you're gonna see the run back. Just based on how Bella's been calling the game, not really wanting to take any chances. Of course, it's a bit tricky here. If you end up slipping back 4, you may sort of coax Team Croisier into attempting the freeze, and that might be your golden ticket to get some rocks in play and maybe get a force out of it this time. Line looking very good on this. It's up to the sweepers to put this in a good spot, getting some finish. Putting it right on the pin behind that guard, and as expected, Bella wasting no time walking up to that center guard. Not looking like they're going to take a chance at the run back. Maybe just playing the straight peel, open it up. Definitely not a bad call, especially early on in these weeks. These guards can be a little tricky to make. It could even maybe hit and roll this into the rings. It's difficult to see if that's possible, but looks like they're just playing the straight peel, so they will roll out, remove it. You may think, well, it's a pretty easy shot, it's just an open guard. Well, not so much, especially when you're maybe a bit unsure about where the broom needs to come down, what the ice is doing. These guards aren't easy to make 6 rocks in a row. With how quick the ice is, always the chance you slip in and leave a double, so definitely have some time. You don't need to play double if you're Bella. Emily taking the opportunity now to guard up an excellent stone she made on her first one. So a great pair by Emily there. It's Team Cave in an excellent position. As long as Bella continues to peel this, I don't think we're going to see too many extra rocks in play. However, looking to at least get a force in this situation. That's all you need if you can continue to guard up this stone in the rings. Of course, you'd love to get a steal as well, but that'll rely on a miss by the Croisier team.
Nothing? Oh gosh.
I got 8-9. Good throws. 8-9. That's good. I don't think you need to throw peel for like.
Nice here, Julie Marco attempting to duplicate Emily's shots earlier. This one again, maybe slipping a little bit deep. Another player caught by how fast the ice has looked here at the start of the week. Slipping him into the rings, bumping that yellow. Maybe not the worst position. You actually rolled off to a spot that I think if you were Bella, you could make the double. You would lose your shooter. I mean, if your goal was to blank this end, that might be fine, but you could also run it by that second stone and still roll out. So it would come with some risks. So I think Bella is deciding to play this a bit more cautiously, attempting to just hit and roll in front of the other stone, but this one well wide. Definitely going to slash it into the other one. Will it be enough to make the double? Loses the shooter. Both rocks leave the ring, so not quite what they drew up, but good enough. It's like they have the opportunity for another blank coming here in the third end. Of course, we'll see if they're able to make the blank. We've seen 2 noses on last rock so far this game. Really gonna try and take this opportunity here. Again, I sort of alluded to this in the first end, but these positions may seem simple, seem boring, but it's really easy as a player to sort of turn your brain off and stop thinking and just trying to make a draw. But these are very important. I mean, this is a free opportunity, especially with how heavy Julie was on her guard in the first one. That's a free opportunity for her to really get that draw weight underneath her, which could save the game later on if it comes to having to make a freeze or something like that. This one's slipping deep again. So a bit of a surprise there. Pretty much looks like it might have been more or less the same weight as her first one, so not much of an adjustment there. Celeste Gauthier now gonna take the opportunity to try and make this nose hit in the back of the rings. A little wide to start here. We've seen this spot hasn't moved a whole ton yet this game. It's about a half stone. It does look like it just leaves the rings. May not seem like much, but an opportunity, chance here for Grace to draw a stone in front of this other red rock. Of course, I think Bella would have to get pretty unlucky to jam something back into that red stone, but keeping that around definitely, you always have that in the back of your mind. Now you need to play around it. So Grace can throw one on the tee line, really anywhere in front of that back stone, put something in Bella's head that she'll have to deal with. Sweepers seem to like this one, coming down into the rings. Just cleaning it as it glides just to the tee line. Sits in a very good spot right in front of that red stone, so Ella will have to be a little bit careful here.
15-8.
It's a bit on the high side. I think if you roll out, you'll probably see Grace try to make that freeze down onto that back stone or get a little bit closer, so you would like to stick around. Would need to hit this a little bit on the inside, the center line side, to jam it into the back. So we'll see if the sweepers need to jump on it early.
They've got the weight judge pretty down pat there.
Dominic Vivier in on the inside. On it quite early. Don't seem to hate it, but this does seem to be a fair bit tight. Maybe trying a plan B to go all the way to the inside, and they do. Just a bit too much, but I can't blame the Vice in that scenario. I think Bella just coming out a little bit tight on the broom, making the plan B call to hit it enough on the inside to not jam it. Of course, you'd much rather just roll out and take your lumps rather than jamming it on the back. But now the opportunity for Grace to make this freeze a little bit better. I think you'll see the sweepers try to get it a bit closer to the back of the rings, even if you can lock it right on that red stone. We've already seen 2 noses on some blank attempts, so if you can put it right to that rock, maybe a difficult blank. Sweepers now working this one. Didn't seem like they wanted to maybe get that as far back as I was thinking. I mean, you do have that rock in the back, and yes, it's very unlikely that Bella would actually jam it back in there, but opportunity there to... You don't necessarily need to put something impossible in the other team's hands, but if you just increase those levels of difficulty on shots end after end after end, that's how you sort of force teams to eventually get a miss and an opportunity for you to capitalize on it. This one coming up a little bit light sort of lets Bella off the hook. It's very difficult to jam this rock, and even if you did, you probably don't lose the shooter. You likely score your one anyways. Bella tight out of the hand again. It's Dominique Vivier working this stone to try and hold it. She will. It's the 3rd nose blank attempt in a row in this game. A single point for Bella Croisier, and the advantage has been swinging back and forth. When we come back in the 4th end, it's a 2-1 advantage for Team Croisier, but Team Cave with the hammer and will look to capitalize for the first time in this game.
I missed a shot.
I made the wrong call. I didn't sweep hard enough.
We let you down.
At least that's what they say.
Like they want us to quit.
But that's not who we are.
That's not what champions do. Champions fight back.
Champions rise again.
Champions are resilient.
And make no mistake,
We are champions.
Goldline, the choice of champions.
Welcome back to the Oshawa Curling Club. We pick up play in the 4th end here. Draw 1 of the Canadian Junior Cup. As mentioned at the top of the broadcast, we have 12 women's teams competing here in our U21 division. 8 men's teams. The winners of both events will win a all-paid trip to Bern, Switzerland, representing Canada at an event known as the Swiss Cup. We do have 2 Swiss teams, one on the men's, one on the women's side here competing with us this week. They flew in 2 days ago, I believe. Had the opportunity to meet them last night. Organizer of the event, Grant Cowan, invited me over to his house for a meet and greet with the Swiss teams. We're definitely a little bit jet-lagged, but ready to compete this week, so I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to see them at some point. This is a very prestigious event. This trip to Switzerland was always a sort of a mainstay staple of the junior circuit a long time ago, before even my time in the junior ranks, and it sort of disappeared for, well, I mean, I believe close to a decade before Grant sort of took up the reins of the event a couple years ago, and it was talking to him, it was very important to get that back, give sort of these younger teams the opportunity to experience international competition for the first time. Did have a trip on the line a number of years ago, and I believe 2019. However, the trip was, unfortunately, as many things were, canceled last minute due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So this may be the first time this year in February that teams are able to return to the Swiss Cup from Canada. We may have the makings of something here in the fourth end, finally getting some rocks in play. A good center guard by Sadie McCutcheon here to start this end. A bit of a miss by Piper Croisier, coming up a little bit light on her second stone, ending up being a second center guard. Now McCutcheon trying to follow it around, but maybe a little bit light, a little bit tight. Rubs off that stone. Still a pretty, not the worst position. Being well off the center line, but that center line is starting to get a little bit junked up. Team Cave and the hammer, with the hammer, may have some stuff to deal with if Dominique Vivier can come up with a good draw here. Especially with that stagger on the center line now. Anytime you're a team with hammer and you see those overlapped center guards, it puts a little bit of worry into your mind. I think it's going to be sort of a race to the button here. The first team to get there will have the advantage in this end, and Team Croisier throwing this one looking pretty good. The line's good. I just need the sweepers to drag it to a good spot. They're going to get that finish and put this stone in the top of the forefoot, leaving it about maybe half or a third of a rock exposed, but that's pretty good. There's nothing really that Team Cave can do with that, so no time wasted. Grace is walking up and asking for the peel from Emily Madaw. Will make the peel, makes contact with that second yellow stone, pushes it through, spins up to a wide but possibly still usable guard. One of the really good things about that shot, though, is, of course, removes the red stone, and you sort of force Croisier to try to replicate it. Of course, if you make a good guard right in front of that other red rock, it leaves the yellow guard exposed for a possible run back later in the end. But you do want to sort of stagger these rocks a little bit, cover a bit of that yellow stone if you can. But of course, if you end up over curling and leaving the red rock in the rings exposed, that's no good either. So it's a bit of a tricky situation for Croisier. I think you definitely want to err a bit on the wide side. Make sure you at least guard that red rock. If you force Cave to throw that run back later in the end, I think you'd be pretty happy. It would only be for one, to sit one at least. Trying to get a little bit of extra curl here at the end. Not quite going to get there, but a very good result nonetheless. Leaves it in front of that red stone, fully guarded. Grace is going to call the run back right away. This is a bit of a surprise for me. Of course, at any point, you always need to be worried or thinking about what happens, what's going to happen if you end up missing at any level, but especially at the junior level, where these runbacks are not maybe as automatic as the women's or the men's. You have to be thinking about what's going to happen if you miss, and here we're going to see a miss, and the problem with it is that you don't make that run back. Now you've just left this red stone dead buried. Where if you were going to throw that run back, you maybe want to play it a little bit later in the end, or if you had to on skips rocks where you can't get burned so much. But now leaving that redstone dead berry gives Team Croisier the opportunity to sink another one, and then you're probably going to have to walk up and peel that red guard anyway. So I think I would have maybe liked to see Grace walk up, run that redstone into the yellow. Could have possibly gotten rid of both of the guards and given yourself an opportunity. Now, bit of a mistake there by Emily Madaw, and Celeste Gauthier is going to try and capitalize and sink this draw to the top of the forefoot. Lock it on her other stone buried. Line is looking pretty good here. Maybe a little bit heavy. You definitely don't want to bounce off too much and leave it double. Trying to get some last minute curl to the rock. Does bump it a little bit. Maybe not quite as much curl as they would have liked to see, but still a very good shot. Sticks it on half of the stone. That red stone that was just thrown by Celeste is not going to go anywhere. Looks like Team Cave's going to take the opportunity here to try and hit this stone. I don't think you get much out of it by hitting and rolling out. I think it's very important to try and keep your shooter around in the ring somewhere. Try to hit what you can, hit a half rock, roll to the open. That red stone should stay about half open. You'll probably see Bella walk to hit the open rock, and then you have something to work with. You might be able to play a tap or a double, get yourself out of this end. This one looking like quite a bit of weight, though. Not going to get that curl they're hoping for. Trying to get a piece of this. Won't as it slips right by. Difficult to know what the weight call was there. So we're not able to hear skips on the ice at this moment, but that was just, I think, too much weight, or maybe a bit too aggressive. It looks like she might have signaled to hit that stone and roll out, and as I said, I don't think that would have gotten you very much. I think it was incredibly important to control the weight there and keep your shooter around now. I mean, ball's in the Bella Croisier's court here. Opportunity here to really put a lockdown on this end and put tons of pressure onto the Cave team. Anything pretty much above the red stone that Celeste threw last end, or on her last rock, will be very good. You could try and sink it into the rings around the guard again and sit 3. The guard is just as good. Will leave pretty much no opportunity for Grace Cave to make a play on those stones in the rings, except for a run back. Of course, you could make a draw to the button. Don't think you'd want to do it now on Vice's last, but it would leave the opportunity for Grace maybe to draw in there on her first, or at least have the opportunity to draw for her single. Now, though, not going to waste any time trying to make the double peel. If you're able to make the double peel, it sort of forces Bella to try to make guard the 2 rocks in the rings, and if you ever get a mistake, you might have the chance to make a double and get yourselves out of it. So discussion here by Team Cave, but it looks like they've resorted back to the original call. I think this is how you want to play this. Try to make the double peel. You're in trouble here, but you can't really force the issue too early. If you try to force the draw now and you don't make it, you're going to be in a lot of trouble later on in the end. So attempting to make this double peel here. There's the curl. Just get both red rocks moving. She will. It's an excellent shot there to come back by Julie Markle on her second stone. Moves both red stones out of the way. And now Bella, really nothing else to do other than toss up the guard, block the double. You're probably going to see a run back by Grace, and if it's not made, she'll likely have to draw the side of the button for her single point here in the 4th end. And again, the troubles this end sort of all lead back to that missed run back by Emily Madaw. And allowed the opportunity for Bella Croisier's team to sink one around the guard and get that second stone in there. And now, pretty good guard. Definitely not perfect, but guards the correct side of that stone. There's no opportunity for an easy double. Does overcurl, so maybe leaves the chance here for Grace to bring the weight down a bit. You can hit this stone with something like a board weight, get it pretty close to nose and sort of leave it, remove one of the red rocks and leave it frozen on the other red one. I think that's your opportunity for the chance for 2 points. You'll probably see some kind of a guard tossed up by Bella and it would be a force, but that's sort of the only opportunity you have. Again here, just like before, it's very important to control the weight here. If you overthrow even just like a control weight, you risk the opportunity of rolling off and letting this opportunity get away. You need to choose a weight that you're comfortable with, that isn't going to move that top redstone too much. Again, this one just not getting the curl. Does make contact, removes the redstone, but again, just rolls out. And even if you don't make the nose hit, at least if you keep your shooter around there, it forces Bella to probably do something with it. But now with rolling out, just another free chance of Bella's team. Likely just tossing up the guard here. It's difficult to see a great spot. You could draw into the top of the 12, top of the 8, half buried, and sit 2 that way. That's a bit more of a precise shot, but we'll see what kind of weight she throws here. For me, I think you just try and throw a tight guard here and let the sweepers put it in a good spot. Once the line's good, you can sweep it, try and drag it to that half-buried line, sort of Christmas tree all the rocks. Everything will be half-buried, and Grace will have to draw the 4-foot for a single point. Sweepers maybe thinking this one is a little bit solid. Let's see if she can get the finish in there. That is not what you wanted to do if you're Bella. Pretty much anything from that redstone that was in the rings to the hog line would have been a good spot to put that rock. That one's slipping a little bit deep. Gives the opportunity for the blank here. It'll be interesting to see if Grace sees it. Sometimes at this junior level, it's difficult to know if they have that upweight ability. You could hit a third half a rock of that redstone that Bella just threw, make the double and roll out of the rings for your blank. That would require quite a bit of weight. I guess one of I guess a good thing about that shot is if they're not going to throw the blank, it's a difficult draw either way. We haven't seen many of the teams go out wider than the side of the button side of the 4-foot kind of draw, so they would have to go into a fresh spot, a new spot. Teams did call a timeout. Looked like it might have come from behind the glass, so their coach Jody might have something to say. Didn't look like the team was discussing the blank at first, so Jody might want to sort of put that seed into their head to think about. Could just be a discussion on the weight too. Like I said, no one's really thrown a wide draw anywhere, so they just want the team to really discuss what the weight's going to be, how they're going to sweep it, where they want to see that rock coming down the sheet.
But just inside there,
it's hard along center. I think we can bring our weights down a tiny bit too for some of
longer hits, like 10 is probably okay on this.
Yeah, I started calling 10.
Okay, great. Good work, you guys. You have to go make it.
And coming out of that timeout, it looks like the shot is pretty clear now. They are going to take a run at this blank. The good thing about this shot though is if you don't necessarily make it, unless you flash, you're pretty much guaranteed to only give up one at a minimum. The problem with the draw is it's make or miss. You make it, you get your one, or you don't make it and you're giving up a steal too, which pretty much takes you out of the game more or less with a 4-1 disadvantage and only 4 ends to play. You do give up a steal of 1, your back's against the wall a little bit, down 2, but you will still have the hammer. So the chance here for Grace Cave to make this double, need to hit about a third of a rock. With good weight, get both stones moving. The sweepers are on it now, trying to hold it. It's going to make contact with both rocks, need to remove that red stone. Oh, and unfortunately just looks like it holds on by about an inch at the edge of the ring, so hit it where she needed to. Maybe needs to hit a little bit thinner or just throw it a little bit harder. Either way, it will be a steal of 1 for Bella Croisier, and she'll take a 3-1 advantage going into the back half of this game. We'll take a quick commercial break and return once play resumes.
Hey guys, welcome to the Stu Sells team's brand new listing, and we are in Rosedale, one of the most expensive, prestigious neighborhoods in the city. Now, the best thing about this house is you have 2 options. You can buy this house for the lot, 42 feet by 100 feet deep, and you can do whatever you want. You can build your dream house here because you have tons of lot coverage, so you can make tons of square footage. Or if you want to just go inside, you could take this house. It's so cute. It's a little 1.5 story. You could totally renovate it, update the kitchen, update the bathrooms, put some new hardwood floors in. Don't spend a lot of money and you could have a really super cool home. So there's a ton of potential. And oh my gosh, you can't beat this location. All the bike paths are close by if you want to go biking up to Sunnybrook Park or down by the Don River or bike downtown. You've got the Evergreens, which is super cool. You can go to Somerhill, some great little shops, restaurant, cafes. You can go up to Leaside and up on Bayview, cool little restaurants, funky shops. There is so much to do, and it's a great neighborhood, great schools, great place to raise a family. So look, go to StuSells.ca, see all the photos, the virtual tour, the video, and give me, Stu, a call for a personal tour.
And we're back as we pick up play here in the 5th end. An excellent attempt at the end of the half there for Grace Cave. It looks like they've looks like she put up the blank on the scoreboard. I'm pretty sure that Red Rock stuck around, so maybe just the team hasn't told her yet that they did give up the steal. By the way, I believe it's a 3-1 advantage for Bella Croisier here in the 5th end. Team Cave gonna try and come back with the hammer. See if their coach had any discussions with them, maybe about how that end went during their timeout. See if they play this a little bit differently. But again, getting 2 guards up, Piper Croisier, excuse me, making a very good draw to bite the top of the 8-foot. They have figured out the scoreboard now, so it is a 3-1 advantage for Team Croisier. They've not going to waste an opportunity, though. That draw does look good by Piper just biting the top of the 8-foot, but in some ways we have seen a decent amount of curl here so far this game. So the opportunity here, you could draw around everything to the 4-foot. Now, rock top 8 could be another guard for you if you're Team Cave. This one well wide, though. arc. See if it's able to curl off of the sideline and maybe grab the side of the rings. There's the curls. The sweeper's now trying to work it into the rings, get something out of it. Do get it in. One coming dangerously close to the sideline.
This is our end, like, of our sheet, right?
No, we're not going to leave yellow stone sitting around. Going to try and hit and roll behind the guards here. Once again, sort of just like last time, it's a bit of a race now to see who can get one in behind those guards first. If they can make this hit and roll, Team Cave will be in a lot of trouble. This one tracking a little bit wide, may come up to hit the nose. No, just rolls out. Second opportunity here. For the Cave team. Well, maybe look at something else for Emily Madaw. That's a very difficult draw to go out wide to get around everything. So maybe thinking about just moving these stones around a little bit. Possibly a hack weight, a board weight. Move the one in. You could hit the one in the top 8 and stick around over on the side. Also the opportunity to, if you end up clipping the guard, you could roll into the rings as well. So definitely a couple of plan Bs in mind, I think, here if you're Grace. Touching on it early, holding it, gets it by that guard and makes contact with the one rings would like to keep the shooter around, but it will roll out. These are sort of the things I've been mentioning early in this game. You want to get rid of that. You'd love to move that rock that was in the top of the 8-foot, but you don't really get as much out of it as you would think if you lose your shooter there. If you bring the weight down and you even just don't push it out of the rings, you're down 2, so you don't mind leaving maybe some Croisier stones around in the back of the rings, but you push it out of the way, you keep a rock around in the rings that Bella has to deal with, then you might get the opportunity to draw around later by rolling out. You've given Team Croisier now the chance to make this draw even better. Sweepers are working this one, but it is curling quite a bit. If they can bring it into the 4-foot, it looks very good, but it will come up just light. A good spot blocks center of the rings. I don't think you would see Team Cave try to draw around that, so they are going to play the hit. Again, very important that you leave your shooter around somewhere. Of course, you'd like to roll out of the way. Give yourself some room to work with in the 4-foot, but even if you just nose it, yes, it's a center guard, and basic strategy would tell you that that's not a good thing with the hammer, but it wouldn't be that bad either. It would control really the only outlet to get into the rings. You would be able to play a tap. This is a very good shot if it can stick around in the rings. It doesn't look like it has, so it'll be another opportunity for Croisier to draw around, and these are sort of just those little half misses, I guess, if you want to call them, that really snowball into some big opportunities for the other team. You really want to focus on controlling your weight, keeping your shooters around in good spots. Of course, if that had stuck around in the rings, it would have been a very good shot, but because they didn't, it's opportunity back here for Celeste Gauthier to make this draw. Weight's looking a lot better here, trying to get a little bit of a finish here, and again, not quite. The spot has caused a little bit of trouble for the Croisier team this end. Piper made a great one on her first, but since then, or on her second, excuse me, but since then they haven't quite been able to get that finish. Leaving this one out, 3/4 open. Chance here for Julie Mackey to move this stone, keep her shooter around, possibly roll to a good spot. So this one a little bit lighter, curling early. Sadie McCutcheon doing her best to hold this, get it by the guard, and they will. Curls up to about the nose, sticks right there. Now again, you force, by maybe not getting quite the shot you would have liked, you force Croisier to play it and play a different shot than they have been. You can only give them so many opportunities at a draw before they're going to make it. So changes up the line, changes up the site. Of course, maybe not rolling as much as they would have liked there. Possibly leaves the opportunity for Croisier to hit and roll behind, but I think it's still a good result. You make them throw something that they haven't been watching all end, haven't been seeing all end. If they ever a little bit wide, which this one might be, might hand the opportunity back. Pretty much just a nose hit. Now's your chance now if you're Team K, possibly really the first one in the end to get something in a good position. You can hit roll in behind this red rock. You'd likely force Team Croisier to play the run back, and if you get a miss, that's your way to 2 points this end. Early sweep here, but this one looks like it might be tracking a little bit wide now. Emily Badaw trying to get the finish, get it to the inside. They won't. Just another nose hit, and that's sort of the theme that we've been seeing on this side of the sheet. That in turn going away, the out turn coming home, just not quite getting as much finish on the draws or the hits as they've been expecting. So we'll see if they're able to make the adjustment. Of course, we did see some flashes there on the wide side last end as well, with a little bit of extra weight. So just a little bit straighter on that side, not quite what they're thinking it's going to do. See if Bella takes the weight down a little bit here to try and get in behind. So now the fourth opportunity here to make this hit and roll. Once you really start getting comfortable with these lines and you've thrown it over and over again, you'll see the more experienced teams really start to bring the weight down less and less once you get comfortable with how much it's going to curl. You really are able to play this a lot more aggressively. Of course, there is that guard there, but with how many times you've played this spot, you should be very comfortable that that guard really more or less isn't in play. You could bring the weight down, really allow your sweepers the opportunity to work this rock where it needs to be. Now Emily Madaw trying to get this finish, trying to get it to cross the center, and they just aren't able to. But a very experienced call there. I think that was probably the least amount of weight we've seen from these teams in that spot, and just might just not, the curl just might not be there what they're looking for to make it. Of course, Bella needs to hit this stone, but I don't know if there's really enough room to get in behind that red. In all likelihood, we'll see a nose hit here. It's difficult to see. I think she will be just in the ring, so Grace will have to play it for a blank, but it will probably be a little bit easier than normal. If Grace ends up nosing it, she won't be in the ring, so she could get her blank that way. Bella Croisier, final stone here in the fifth end of play, representing the Northern Credit Union Community Center in Sudbury. Looking to get a bit of a roll behind this guard. Sweeper's staying off, looks like it's tracking a bit, and she will just nose it. Be interesting to see if it is in the rings or not. Grace taking a quick look at it, as well as Julie. Looks like they maybe said that the rock looks like it's out of the rings. And they're discussing maybe drawing and taking their one. Not 100% sure if I agree. If you take one, you'll be down one without, which is a very difficult situation. Now, granted, steals are probably a little bit easier to come by at this younger level. I still think you only have so many ends to play with, but I think you could probably get away with at least one more blank. Probably a bit, either situation, really, you're in a little bit of trouble, but they might be more familiar. This might be a team that plays very well without the hammer. So we'll see. It looks like they have decided to draw for their single point. Just need any piece of the house to make it. And no issues at all. The sweepers watch it into the rings. Gets the full 4 foot. It is a single point for Grace Cave here in the 5th end. She'll give up the hammer but take her single point. When we come back for the 6th end, it will be a 3-2 advantage with the hammer for Bella Croisier with just 3 ends to play.
Anyone can be scared to try something new.
But moving outside of your comfort zone
Can open new possibilities.
And having the courage to change something,
Doesn't change who you are.
So why try something new?
to innovate,
to create a legacy.
To make an impact.
You have to earn it.
And you better be ready to enjoy it.
Because you never know.
who else you might make an impact on.
What impact will you make?
Goldline, the choice of champions.
And we're back here in the 6th end of play here. Draw 1 of the Canadian Junior Cup. Trip to Bern, Switzerland on the line for the winners of the event. And my name is Matthew Hall. I'll be bringing you all the action, at least from the first 2 days of competition here. We'll have some other guest commentators joining me for some other draws. Here in this, again, just discussing that decision in that last end by Grace Cave to draw for her single point. Not something you would necessarily see a whole lot at the older levels, but possibly this team might be comfortable with trying to play for the steal. They do get a high guard up to start. Gonna be usable, and Grace is gonna try and use it right away. Again, Bella drawing to the open side. We've seen her utilize those tactics earlier in the game very well. Lead here, Sadie McCutcheon now trying to use her second stone to draw into the rings. Definitely nothing wrong with leaving a little bit short, a little bit light either. This one they need to go for the line, I think, to get it by the guard. They will. Now I think you just leave it. The higher this stone is, the better. You don't necessarily need to sit shot right away, but they will. Slips into the top of the 8 foot, maybe just bites top of the 4. Pretty much buried. May have overcurled slightly. Bella's gonna ask Piper to bring the weight down. Maybe just throw a back line, try and get by that guard. Again, you don't need to remove the yellow stone from play. You just need to push it out into the open. Even if you leave them shot, you sort of push it into the 4 foot into the open. It takes away Team Cave's opportunity to really play with any sort of margin for error. Pushes them into the open, something that you can play off of later. As long as the weight is good here, we will see the curl. Of course, we've seen this spot be a little bit straighter. Now it's starting to move. Because with that little less weight, you can see a little bit of movement here. Gets by the guard. Sweeper's watching it as it comes into the rings. Bumps that yellow. the back of the 8-foot. Again, difficult to tell if yellow is second shot or not, but I think if you're Team Croisier, it doesn't really matter. You did what you needed to do there. Push it out of the way. Get that stone out of a good position. Now Team Cave, if they do hit and roll behind, they're now a whole rock, maybe 2 rocks higher than they were. Then Team Croisier can just walk up and peel the center guard and sort of play with a bit more of cushion underneath them. Julia Markle with a good sweep here right at the end, trying to hold it. Does overroll a little bit, but still a pretty good result. It's interesting to see who's second shot here, because if Bella does decide to play that stone that was just thrown, she'll likely roll into the open, may roll in front of that other yellow rock. It might not be shot. It could end up being yellow sitting 1 after this, but again, your whole goal here if you're Team Croisier is just keep things away from the center line, away from the forefront. Definitely walking up and peeling the center guard would be an option as well. Team Croisier up 1 with the hammer. I think if you're Bella, just thinking about what they want to get out of this end, I think pretty much just you want to put a point on the board. Yes, you'd like to get a 2 if you have the opportunity, but at the end of the day, as long as you're the next team to put 1 up on the board, you'll have at least a 2-point advantage with so few ends left to play. That's a very strong position to be in. This one a little bit wide, makes contact with the yellow, pushes it out into the open on the other side, but loses the shooter. Now Grace is taking a look at stones, but I'm not necessarily sure it really matters who's second shot. I think you have the opportunity here to maybe draw 1 around the center and do a good position. Again, you're thinking if you're the Cave team, well, what does Bella want to do? And as I said, I think all Bella really needs at the end of the day is just to put 1 up on the board. So you want to force the opportunity, force her into some tough shots here. By hitting this open stone, yes, you sit 3, but it's 3 wide open rocks and a very high center guard. Not something that Bella is necessarily worried about playing against. Bella's going to have the opportunity to play an open hit and possibly keep things open to get her single point. Got a bit of an extra out of that shot by bumping that other redstone to the back of the 4-foot. It's something you might be able to utilize later if you could draw top 4, and it's another rock that Bella would have to draw against. But again, all these rocks this rock especially that Bella's now hitting being wide open, really not a whole lot of pressure on the Croisier team as long as you can hold your shooters around, maybe make a nice little flop into the 4-foot. You can really sort of take this opportunity here to play a bit more freely and not be forced into anything really tough for your single. This one over rolling. Now that one's third shot. Now Grace, with that stone sort of being at the back of the 12-foot, there's nowhere really good that you could hit roll off of that stone. So now she'll take the opportunity to draw the top of the 4-foot. Sit. The opportunity to sit 3 here, as long as the weight is good. You really want to make sure this is in the top half of the rings, preferably dead or at least half buried. It's like maybe a little bit of extra sweep, knowing it was heavy, trying to hold it out onto that back yellow stone a bit more, but it curls up, sits back of the button. Interesting decision here to be made for Team Croisier, of course. With a 1-point lead and the hammer, you don't want to play with too much risk. The opportunity is there to sort of play down onto those stones, but I think this is maybe the more experienced call here. Really, the rock that's causing you issues right now is the guard, so you just walk up and you peel it. We'll leave Team Cave the opportunity to maybe put a rock in a good spot. You definitely need to make contact, though. He does make contact, but barely moves that guard. Maybe even makes that guard a little bit better, pushing it onto the center line. Now, big opportunity here for Team Cave. But if Julia can make that little bit of an adjustment from her first rock, just take 2-3 feet off and place it just biting the top of the forefoot, really not only cuts down the scoring area, but makes it very difficult for Team Croisier to get in there for their single point. And watching this rock come into the rings, you need to get a little bit of a finish at the end. Great weight adjustment there by Julia Markle. Unfortunately, just not getting the curl they would have liked to see there. Possibly, couldn't tell. I think the broom was pretty much in the right spot, so maybe she, or the same spot as her first one, so maybe she was just a little bit wider, but would have liked to see that stone maybe at least a little bit more buried. Either way, though, an excellent shot there in a very good spot. Forces Team Croisier to play it. You could probably... Looks like she was calling for maybe just like back 8, back 12 weight. So you could probably get up to the nose and bump all the rocks back. So there's 3 yellows sort of behind the T line that you might not be all that concerned about. Now taking an extra second to think about it. Possibly... maybe discussing if they want to take a timeout or not to talk about this. And they will. Yep, there's the call. So we'll see a timeout by Team Croisier as they figure out what to do. Taking a quick look at it, I didn't necessarily hate the call that Bella was talking about. You could throw a little bit of extra weight at it, maybe a half weight to at least make sure you maybe remove one of the yellow rocks. But of course, the more weight you throw at it, as we've seen in that spot, it's difficult to get up to the nose or the inside. I think the call she was making was fine as long as you're very clear about what kind of weight you want to throw, and you could possibly err a bit more to the heavier side. So we'll see what they have to say here in the timeout and pick up when they finish off.
Something up there. So I don't like a lot of weight. I think I prefer like no more than half. No, not a 10. No, not a 10.
Yeah. I think you want to throw like a 12 high. Because I don't think backline gets anything ever.
I think you want to just hit it on like the 3/4 high side.
Yeah.
And then leave it kind of on the end and over there. And then try and like tap the front.
Initially
back
calling
line
backline
the top. Yeah. I think we have to.
What kind of weight though?
Back 8.
Oh, really? That light?
Well, I think we want to stick.
Yeah,
like back line.
too, but I think you do need enough weight to move it around.
Yeah. I don't mind back line. I don't mind back line either.
Like a 13?
It's like 13.5 probably.
Yeah. I think
Back line is
13.5. Back line is 13.5.
You just want to hit it like 3/4, I think. Maybe even like nose, touch on the inside a little bit. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
I like that too.
Okay. Okay. Okay, you got this.
Here it looks like they have sort of more or less decided to play the same shot that they had before the timeout, just sort of like a back 8 weight, bumping it, not think it's an okay result. You would have liked to get maybe a bit more to the nose, not leave that yellow stone right on the butt.
Because you have both sides at it now.
Difficult to see, I think yellow. Well, yellow's 2 for sure. It's difficult to see who's third shot. Of course, both skips rocks to come here. Good thing if you're Team Croisier is you left that red stone in a very usable position. I would be maybe a bit more worried about that red rock if I was Grace than it seems like they are. Looks like the call is maybe trying to draw to bite the forefoot. You can tuck a piece around behind that red. I guess it's a good spot. That's a very precise shot. My other thought was just guard. Good freeze to the inside of the red. Yeah, that's again a very precise shot. If you can put it in a good spot, it makes it very difficult for Croisier. But the thing about trying to freeze that red stone, you need to make sure that you have enough of the red rock that you can't just run it straight in, but not so much on the nose that, again, Bella could maybe drag it in there into the forefoot, get some yellows moving around. So looks like they've reverted their first one, trying to just bite the forefoot. Yes, if you could tuck a piece around that red, it's perfect, but that's such a tough spot to put a rock in. The curl is there for sure, but your weight has to be perfect, your line has to be perfect. Didn't really discuss at all possibly just throwing a guard, which might have been useful. Yes, you'd leave Croisier the opportunity to draw one in there down this same path. I'm not even sure if the guard would necessarily be the right call. I was a bit surprised to see them not discuss it at all. They need to sweep this to get by the guard though. Sweeping McCutcheon, holding it, get by with plenty of space, maybe a little solid now after that sweep. It's just not... It's one of the problems with that shot is you really have no margin for error or opportunity to get sort of a plan B out of it. Possibly a bit of miscommunication there. They got by that guard by a fair bit. They definitely had some room to work with. It didn't really seem like maybe the sweepers were letting them know exactly how heavy that was. So ends up putting the rock, moving the stones off of the button, rolling to give Bella plenty of room to work here. She's gonna play the tap to the button. A bit interesting. You could definitely just play the in-turn draw of the pin. You could hit and roll off of the rock that they just threw. I think this red stone top of the 8-foot is very... You're never not going to have the opportunity to use that, and it could be very usable for your last stone if you had to. I don't know if you necessarily have to play this shot on the first rock. Of course, if you make the tap, you're going to leave your stone in a very good spot. This is probably the only way you get a rock in there that Team Cave wouldn't be able to have some kind of a play on, but you just had the opportunity. But if you don't make this very good, you could end up sort of taking everything away from yourself. This is rolling quite a bit. They get it by the guard. Off of it, and let this rock sort of over curl, push it past everything, and leave yellow sitting free. Once they got by the guard, I kind of felt like they had to keep going. I think tapping that red and rolling, you've choked off the in-turn draw, and you push that red stone back into a spot that doesn't do anything for you. Yellow is still sitting 3. I think if you stay on that, you try to hit it closer to nose so that it at least makes contact with one of the yellows, keeps the red back in the forefoot by letting it over curl there at the end. Could have taken everything away here. If Grace can put a rock in a good spot, maybe full top 4, it's very difficult to see a way that Bella can get a stone in there. Maybe the wide in-turn to the button, but that's very difficult. She's going to be throwing against a bundle here. It comes down to this shot here. Grace needs to put this rock in a very good spot, leave it up to the sweepers. You have a little bit of room to work with. You don't have to sit 4. If you're a little light, put it top 8, top 12 in the way, that's fine. Definitely chance here. This one definitely tight halfway down. I think just light. Sweepers need to go. If you can bump it off of that center guard, it's not bad. Just didn't have the weight. That rock doesn't really, it's in the way of the draw a little bit, I guess, but with it being so high, doesn't really do all that much. Big missed opportunity there by Team Cave. Gives Bella the chance to draw the button here against 3 for her single point here in the 6th end. Here we are, Bella Croisier, final rock in the 6th end. The game on the line here in many ways, needing to get this into the 4th, but she has a backing to work with. Sweepers seem to like it early. The line looks good. Maybe a little bit heavy. They're calling back 8 for a little bit of a bump. As long as it gets to the inside of that yellow, those should be able to get her single point. Gets that little bit of a finish, bumps the yellow, gets her single point. No nerves there from Bella Croisier. She gets her single point to take a 2-point lead after 6th end. When we come back in the 7th end, it will be a 4-2 game for Bella Croisier. Team Cave will try to come back and score their 2 with hammer.
Doesn't matter if you're just learning how to play.
Or competing at the top level of the game.
We all go for fun.
And gold line gear?
This is for everyone.
These shoes are more comfortable than ever.
These are stable.
These make me slide straight.
These make me slide fast.
The new impact head maximizes performance.
And can we talk about grip zone technology?
Because it's on the brooms and the gloves.
Beginner or pro, they got something for you.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Welcome back to 7th end of play here in Draw 1 of the Canadian Junior Cup Ontario matchup here between Grace Cave and Bella Croisier. That last end may, if this score ends up holding that last end, maybe one to look back at for both teams. Bella coming up with an excellent draw there at the end. After some key misses early, got them into trouble, and Team Cave definitely had the opportunity to sort of drive the knife in a little bit against them, but just coming up light on that last draw. A couple shots where Rocks just didn't quite end up where they wanted to, and ended up leaving the opportunity for Bella to get out of it. Now you need to play a bit more aggressively if you're Team Cave. You almost need to score a 2 here. You probably have the opportunity to steal. Well, if you go to the 8th end and you play the way you played that last end, and you definitely going to have the opportunity to maybe steal a win away, but steal 2 in a row is very difficult at any level, so definitely want to try and get a 2 here. If you get 1, you probably have to steal the 8, then steal an extra. That stone just knocking the guard out, so of course they need to put it back. Of course, I like that call by Grace. You could definitely be a little bit conservative and attempt to hit that rock in the rings, bring the weight down. I think they just got a little unlucky, hit a bit too much of that center guard and removed it. The first rock by Sadie McCutcheon was hogged on an attempt to throw a corner guard, so not much to work with here now if you're Team Cave. Team Croisier looking to draw into the rings. Set a second point, preferably if you could just bury it a piece behind that guard, that would be nice. Doesn't quite get there, but bumps that redstone. Still a very good spot to be in. Forces Team Cave to play the rocks in the rings, move them around a bit. Again, the opportunity here, you could bring the weight down, play a hack, play a board weight. You don't need to remove these red rocks from play, but you'd like to maybe push one of them behind the T-line, give yourself something to freeze to, something to work with. Definitely nothing wrong with just playing the hit, though. A little bit less margin for error that way. Looks like it's going to be a very good shot. Gets to the inside, makes not quite the double, but pushes the other redstone out of the 8-foot, so yellow is sitting shot, I believe. Buried. And again, now leaves Croisier the opportunity to play this run back, and if they make it, you don't necessarily have anything in the back of the rings to freeze to or something to maybe jam. Dominique Vivier attempting the interim run back here down the center line. A little bit wide out of her hand. The sweepers are holding off. Still very close, though. Definitely has the chance. Will make it. Removes Yellowstone. Rolls out into the open. And now I think it's just a bit of a waiting game if you're Grace Cave. When do you decide to switch it up? And instead of playing the hit and roll, you could theoretically do it now. It might be a little bit early. But eventually, if these hit and rolls sort of aren't made, or Bella continues to make these run back, eventually you'll see her switch up and just play the straight draw around into the 4-foot. For now, though, content to try and make this hit and roll to a very good spot. Emily Madaw, again, very good weight, looks very close, makes the hit, rolls, not quite buried, about half buried, maybe just less. Not shot, but Bella still needs to play it. So it looks like they are going to play the out turn. You make it with hack weight, you're probably going to roll at least to the side of the 4-foot kind of thing. And then Grace is likely eventually going to just draw around that guard. I think you have to play it at this point in the end. I don't think it's late enough that you can just draw around yourself if you're Team Croisier and risk the opportunity of leaving Yellowstones around for Team Cave. Rock looking pretty good. Maybe need it to just finish up a little bit. Does make contact with Yellowstone. Not quite enough weight to remove it from play though, so use the opportunity here for Team Cave. There is a double here on the side of the rings, and I think you have to play it to try and sit your 2. This is Julia Markle's first here in this end. So with 4 rocks remaining, if you can make the double here and stick around, you let Bella sort of hit the rocks that are open in the rings, and while she's doing that, you could take the opportunity to draw around the center guard. Very good shot there by Julia Markle. Makes the double, sits 2, and now while Bella's sort of quote unquote wasting time, for lack of a better term, hitting these open rocks, you could sort of push the envelope a bit if your team cave. With 3 rocks remaining, you draw a couple around the center guard. Bella doesn't make a good run back or just continues to hit these open ones, she'll eventually have to make a run back or risk giving up a 3 on the lead. I think that's your game plan here. Of course, if your team cave, at minimum, you want to get your 2, you want to tie it up, have the chance to steal the game in the end, but if the chance is there for 3, I'd love to go for it. This rock can be very good. Hit it on the center line side and roll to the inside. They are shot stone, so Grace is going to decide to deal with it again. Opportunity is there. There's nothing wrong with this call. If you could be content to give up your 2, you could try and push the envelope a little bit more, but of course, if you try and go around the center, you don't get buried, or they do make a run back, then the end might be taken away. You might not be able to get your 2. So they're going to take the chance to try and hit this. This one, very tight, though. Mada trying to hold it around, to stick around, to sit to. She won't. Will roll out. Opportunity lost there if your team cave. Now Bell is going to hit the open stone. Still a chance for 2. Grace has 2 stones, so she could draw around that center guard, ideally twice to get her 2 points, but that was a big chance to really make that make at least a nose hit there and sort of guarantee your 2 for the end. Bella Croisier's first and 7th end here. Would love to stick around. Don't think rolling to the center line gives you stuff to jam on after Grace's first, but I think that's still pretty good. Your team cave here, I don't think you have any other options. You pretty much have to play the draw. If you make it really good, top of the 4-foot buried, you'll likely see Bella attempt the run back. And depending on whether or not that's made, you're either drawing for 1 or 2. Cave here with her first rock, attempting to get this buried somewhere where it's not accessible by the Croisier team. Of course, we've seen this side has a tendency to run a little bit straighter, so we'll see how the sweepers react early. Only signaling that it might be a little heavy. Of course, we saw Grace come up well light last end, so could be a bit of an over adjustment. Maybe trying a plan B. You could roll in off of the back one. She does make contact with a bit of a roll. Still pretty much wide open. Might be edge on edge. Maybe a sliver buried around that guard. But this rock is well accessible for Bella Croisier. And if she can remove it from play, it's job done, essentially, for the Croisier team this end. You don't necessarily care. You'd love, actually, to force the other team. You don't mind them putting a point on the board. You'll have a 1-point lead with the hammer in the last end. Croisier with the intern. We have Dominic Vivier on the inside. Attempting to hold this straight early. This spot shouldn't curl all that much. Gets by the guard with room, comes up to the nose, makes the nose hit, and leaves wide open draw here. 14K for her single point. Mission accomplished here, though, if you're Bella Croisier. With the force here in this end, still needs to make this shot. With The way she made that last one very well, I would expect Grace to be quite close here. Final rock here in the 7th end, looking for their single point to keep this game close. Sadie McCutcheon on the inside, Emily Madaw on the out. Don't seem to hate the weight early. They're staying on it. Line looks pretty good. Now it's just about the sweepers putting this on the tee line. They have plenty of backing to work with. That last little bit of curl up to the nose, right up to that redstone to get her single point. It'll be a 4-3 lead for Bella Croisier after 7 ends of play. Take a quick commercial break. We'll come back as the 8th end resumes.
I missed a shot.
I made the wrong call.
I didn't sweep hard enough. We let you down.
At least that's what they say.
Like they want us to quit.
But that's not who we are.
That's not what champions do. Champions fight back.
Champions rise again.
Champions are resilient.
And make no mistake,
We are champions.
Gold Line, the choice of champions.
And we're back here in the 8th end. Draw 1 of the Canadian Junior Cup. Grace Cave making an excellent draw there at the end of the 7th to score her single point and keep this game close. Sadie McCutcheon maybe getting caught there. We saw a couple hits on that side of the sheet, but most of those last draws were on the intern. Possibly coming back playing the other side of the sheet, of course. As you get late in a game, especially early in a week, you'll start to see teams get caught as the ice changes. They don't really know how the ice will break down. Once we get through the week, they get a couple games under them, they'll have a better feel for that. But maybe the speed just coming down a little bit. Sadie getting caught on the other side, coming up a bit light. That really takes away a lot of that sort of room to work with now. If your team Cave, you have 7 shots, pretty much have to make 7 shots here to have a good opportunity to try and steal this end. So that's the beauty of the 4 rock rule, or the 5 rock rule nowadays, I guess. You always have that second opportunity, get that guard up. Sadie needs to put this in a good spot. You'd love to see this at least halfway to the rings, maybe a little bit tighter. Really choke off that path to the button if you can. Sweepers seem to like this one though as it comes in. Emily Madaw staying down on the inside. Love it at least to that dot halfway to the rings, and they do slips right to that Cool Shots logo. That's a good spot, good adjustment there by Sadie McCutcheon getting that stone there. See Team Croisier attempt the tick. Hyper Croisier in the hack. This is something that I'm sure they practiced a lot at home in Sudbury. With that hugged stone by Sadie to start, if you can make a really good tick here, basically lock down at least having some sort of open shot or an open draw to the forefoot to win the game. This one needs to curl up a little bit though. Weight looks very good. Just slips by though. Probably a little bit light even, so it's surprising that that didn't come up. On those kinds of tick shots, you'd love to see, at least if you're going to miss the stone, you don't want to leave anything in the back of the rings for them to work with, so you try to throw that back line maybe just through weight, that if you do slip by, you have the opportunity to get it out. With that rock stopping in the back of the forefoot, keep an eye on that stone. That's something that Team Cave can use, or at least have there as a jam possibility later in the end. They're not going to try and play right down to it. I think that's a smart call. You just want to put this in the top of the forefoot, get something good in there. You could always play a freeze later near the end of the end if you absolutely have to. But try and get this buried near the top of the forefoot. This one coming up a little bit light, so they aren't shot, but of course, as I just pointed out, if Croisier tries to make a play on that stone in the ring, there's always the jam possibility at the back. This is absolutely the smarter call there, though. That yellow rock in the top of the 8-foot, eventually K will draw in. You'll always have the chance for a double or at least a hit. You're not necessarily as worried about that stone. The rock that's going to cause you more problems is this one that's a guard. So very excellent peel there made by Dominic Vivier. Moves the yellow stone, rolls out of play. And now this end sort of starts following the script. You'll likely see Grace continue to guard for a while. I think probably through Emily Madaw's shots, probably through Julia Markle's shots. Don't think you'll see them make a play in the rings until at least Skips first, unless something happens where Croisier maybe noses a peel or something else gets moved around. But you'll likely see them continue to play these guards, and then maybe on Grace's first rock, they'll look at maybe playing a freeze, or they might leave it to her last one. We'll see how this plays out. This rock's slipping in a little bit deeper than the last one, though, so could have the opportunity for a double peel here, but again, the jam always being a possibility. I think Bella's just going to play this safe. Just remove the guard. That's the rock that's really going to cause you problems if you don't get rid of it. Dominic Vivier attempting to replicate her last shot, remove this stone from play. This one a little bit wider though, and we've seen with extra weight, if you get a little bit wide, it doesn't want to come back. That is definitely not the way to miss that shot. Removes her own stone at the back of the 8-foot, which, as I pointed out before, is not a stone that you want there. So it's not all entirely bad to get rid of that red rock, but leaving that guard there is now a huge issue for the Croisier team. Really, I think if you're Bella, as you become more experienced, you're not necessarily worried about the fact that Team Cave is now shot top of the 8-foot. What's worrying you is that guard, and if Grace can improve upon this shot and get it into the 4-foot buried, that's when you start getting into a lot of trouble. So again, just even if you were a little tight there, you didn't necessarily make the peel, but you nosed it, maybe you rolled a rock or two, that would have been the right way to miss that shot. Make sure you make contact with that center guard. Now Julia Markle, the shot looking very good for lines. Sweepers seem to think it might be a little bit solid, letting it grind in, and it does just past the T line to the back of the button. Again, you know Bella's not going to make a play in the rings yet on that one you just threw, so it's not a bad position to put it. She's going to try the peel here. Ideally, you'd love to get one of the yellows moving in the rings as well. I think the triple possibility is, well, you'd have to throw it with quite a bit of weight to make the triple, but you could at least get all the yellows moving. You do that, you want to move them outside of that 4-foot line for your final shot. Celeste Gauthier with her first here in the 8th end, attempting to move some yellows. Little bit wide, only gets the guard. Again, as we saw before, we'll only see Grace continue to guard for at least one more shot with Julia's. Probably 2 with the way things are looking in the rings. I don't think you need to make a move on Grace's first. You likely with Grace's last, if this is the situation on Team Cave's final stone, you would likely see her play some kind of maybe a draw, maybe a freeze somewhere to really sort of try to take everything away from Croisier. But I think right now, you're more than content to toss up halfway guards, maybe keep them a little bit tighter. You don't want to make the any doubles or triples easier for Team Croisier. That rock's in a very good spot. To make the triple, you'd have to hit it pretty close to nose, and you'd risk leaving something there. So I think probably just going to play the single peel for now. Dominique Vivier on this early, maybe a little bit tight out of her hand. She'll be able to hold it good enough, makes the peel, uses the shooter.
Do you want to guard just on center either side? Okay. I like
Grace
it.
just, as I said, not going to make a play, and I think that's a smart call here. Don't want to give Bella too many opportunities. Likely with the way things are, Bella will have a shot to win. It's difficult to imagine a spot to put a rock where there is a spot to put a rock that you could theoretically take everything away, I guess, but difficult to imagine that Bella's not going to have some kind of a shot, so you don't want to give her any more opportunities than she needs to try and open things up or give herself some room to score. So you just toss up the guard here. Be interesting to see from Bella's perspective if she does walk up and peel the guard, or if Grace gives her the chance to make a play on the rock that's on the button. Might be a prudent call for Bella to give herself some room to make her last one. Good spot by Grace, and Bella taking a look at the shot stone. Likely gonna try and make a play with just a bit of a heavy draw. Get one in there, bump that yellow stone back.
Yeah, you're still 16-5, so.
Of course, there's many ways to play this shot, and I think pretty much however you play it, you're gonna give Team Cave something to work with. If you're trying to play a little bit of extra weight and you end up rolling out into the open to set shot, side 4, you might see Grace play the hit and roll. You could see her ignore it and just try and draw into the button buried. I think ideally with this, you'd love to almost play this as some kind of freeze, I guess. Just make sure you get your shot, but of course you have to make sure your shot. You have to bump that yellow stone. So definitely the error here is to be a little bit heavy, bump it back, roll out into the open. Looked like she wanted to maybe throw like back 4, back 8. Falling maybe a little bit wide to start, but now it's starting to curl as the weight comes off. Weight looks fairly good as to what she called. She will bump this yellow stone, maybe with a bit of a roll out into the open.
Yeah, I like that.
Just maybe not quite as much out of that rock as they would have liked. I think if you're going to hit and roll into the open like that, you would have liked to play with a bit more weight, bump that yellow stone at least back to the 8 foot, back 12, give yourself some room if this hit and roll isn't made. Now, if Grace makes this hit and roll, it's very difficult, but honestly, if she even just noses it, it's a difficult shot for Bella Croisier to get in there, because I think if Grace noses it and Bella makes the double, very good opportunity that she would end up rolling too far, and that rock top 8 would score. You'd love to just roll this about a half rock. Half rock, maybe a full rock, sit on the top of the button, really choke down the scoring area. Final rock here for Grace Cave in the 8th end. Attempting to give her team the opportunity to steal the game here. Sadie McCutcheon on it early, needing to hold the line. It's very tight. She well wrecked on the guard. It's difficult to see who's shot right now. But if it is Bella Croisier, that will be the game. And that is the game. Bella Croisier is sitting shot stone, so she will count her single point. Take the win over Grace Cave here, so bit of an opportunity there missed. Something to regroup and discuss after the game, how the ice changed. But for now, that'll be a 5-3 win for Bella Croisier here in Draw 1 of the Canadian Junior Cup. We will sign off for the time being, and we will be back for our men's draw later this morning. I'm Matthew Hall.